Hello, I am Trent Cotton, Head of Talent Insights here at iCIMS, and I have the lowdown of what's going on in the job market in February. So let's dig in. Well, if we thought that 2025 was a bumpy ride, 2026 is shaping out to be more of the same. In this month's report, we look at our traditional three-line report that tracks openings, hires, as well as applicant activity. And we also decided to dig into what's going on in the healthcare sector. Also, at the end of this, I will let you in on a little secret that I've been keeping that will be coming in March. So let's start with what's going on in the market. All right, so here is our three-line graph. And just looking at it, you're like, oh, wow, January was incredibly busy. We had more openings, we had a little bit more hires, and we had higher application volume. And all of that is true. That is typically what happens in January. And those of us that have spent time in recruiting, we know January is a very busy month. But whenever I went back and I looked at this time last year, kind of coming out of 2024 into 2025, I saw the same type of activity, but I will say that January 2026 is a little softer than how we started in 2025. I really think that what the data is telling us is that we're starting out in a softer market. Both organizations and applicants are really trying to figure out, all right, 2026, what do you got? Now, if we look at the average applicant per opening or APO, as well as the time to fill, not a lot has changed. Now, we did start to see time to fill creep up beginning in November of 2025. So this is going to be a trend that we need to watch. But it kind of begs the question, though, if the average applicant per opening is not increasing, what's causing the time to fill to drag? So my gut is telling me that organizations are still a little wary. They want to have the openings, they find the talent, and then all of a sudden, right there, when you get close to the finish line, things drag out in the approval process. We saw a lot of this in 2025, and it looks like that trend is going to continue in 2026. The only problem is if application volume continues to increase, we're going to reach an inflection point that's going to be critical for any organization to make sure that they maintain that positive candidate experience. And the race to top talent is going to be based on speed. All right, as I mentioned, we decided to look at what's going on in the healthcare sector, and we broke it into clinical versus non clinical because we really wanted to understand what's going on. So, if we look at what's going on in clinical, one of the things that jumped out at me was the sharp increase in the number of applications year over year. So, that's a pretty significant jump. And while openings are up 1% year over year, it's not enough to sustain that type of applicant volume, most especially when we see that hiring is down 4% year over year. Now, I do want to call out if we look at the month over month, there are some pretty significant gains in January with 20% increase month over month in application volume. But I also want to call out that in November, we saw a pretty sharp decline in all three of the metrics that we were looking at month over month. So if we take that into account, January's activity is really just kind of bringing us back to neutral. Now, let's look at what's going on in non clinical, and it's a very similar story. However, in this sector, we have to remember speed wins. And so, if you're looking for top talent, they're not going to wait long. So, as the application volume continues to increase, and if we see this in February continue to go at the angle that we saw in January, it is going to cause a lot of consternation for those recruiting groups recruiting for non clinical roles. This is the biggest obstacle that I see non-clinical facing is how do you balance speed with quality and quality with speed? Now, in this report, we also share a case study of one of our clients who was able to accomplish balancing speed with quality. So make sure that you check it out. And this is also a very important week. There's a lot of job data that's coming out. So the team and I, we will be looking at the numbers, figuring out what's really going on, and making sure that we are providing you with the updates that you need to create a successful talent strategy. All right, so I mentioned a secret early in the video, and that secret is coming out on March the 3rd. So I can't really tell you what it is, but it is definitely going to be something that you want to see. I do think that I can tell you that in March, we're going to change the style of the report. Hopefully, you noticed in this month's report that we started including month over month changes, not just year over year, because we found that to be very important. And we were getting a lot of feedback from readers that that was something that they wanted to see. That's not the only change. We heard all of you. And we are going to make some pretty significant changes into the look, the feel, as well as the content. So make sure every month you mark it on your calendar that you go and download your free workforce report from none other than iCIMS and the wonderful data team that we have here. We really believe that our data and our insights is going to be what helps you create a successful 2026 talent strategy. I'll see you next month.